Emily, your dad ended up working in construction for a while and still has connections to it, right? I remember hearing that from him while at your wedding and wanted to confirm that it was him. Yeah, you are right about that. Sandra, why do you ask about him all of a sudden? Do you need him to do something for you? No, I was just asking is all. But actually, I have to move out of the house I'm living in right now. And since this has come out of nowhere, I'm in a bit of a pinch. That's really tough, actually. Was there a reason for all of this having to happen to you? Well, apparently the landlord's kid is coming back here. And he's asked me to leave my place so that he has a place to give to his kid. Of course, he's going to be paying me to leave the place, but I haven't been able to find a place to move into yet. It's all happened so fast, and I kind of feel like it's a bit unfair of him to do that to my husband and I. I get what's going on now. That does seem pretty unfair of him to do that, but I remember hearing that you and your husband have been late on some payments, so maybe he's just had enough and needed a reason to get you out. Sorry for suggesting that. But anyway, why did you want to ask about my dad? I don't think he'll be able to help you out much in your current situation. Well, since he's worked in house construction and knows it all very well, I was wondering if he knew of any new places that I could buy. I've been looking around where my husband works, but I haven't been able to find anything good. So if it's okay with your dad, I'd love for him to show me some places. But he just worked in building houses and most of the time was in the office anyway, so he never went to any of the job sites. And most of those houses that get built are by people paying them to build, so it's not like he's been building them to then be sold. You'd have to talk to a realtor about things like that. So I don't think he's going to know of any places for you to go. What? Are you sure? He doesn't have any friends working in the realtor business or anything like that that he could refer me to? That's a completely different line of work there. But I can at least give him a shout and see what he says. He might know some realtor groups that he's worked with in the past that you could go talk to. Well, if you don't think he knows anyone, then we'd better not bother him. But right now, I am really in a pinch. I don't even want to have to leave the place I'm at right now or this area. It can be pretty hard finding places to live in areas as expensive as that of where your husband works. And even if it was cheaper there, it's a competitive spot, so people would be buying a lot quicker than you most of the time. Maybe it's better to look for an apartment in the area again and then wait a bit for the market to settle down. I'd love to do that, but I'm not wanting to stay in an apartment again after this. Man, searching for housing is so tough. I'm sure it's been tough for you too, right? So you have to understand how I'm feeling right now. What was tough for me exactly? Looking for a house. Because you're in a wheelchair, right? You have to find a house that's accessible for you and a part of town that allows you to get around. That had to have been hard, right? You make a good point. There aren't a lot of apartment buildings with elevators either, unless they were built in the last 20 years. And I want to get out of my place by myself sometimes. So when I was looking, I became pretty frustrated by how very little accessible housing there was. Right? Well, even though that was tough, I don't have to worry about it much anymore. Why not? You're not going to be living there for the rest of your life, right? Well, my husband and I have had a house built for us. And we made sure that it's really open and very accessible for me, as well as that it's in a place we want to live forever. So I'm living here with no problems whatsoever and hope to for however long I'm around. Huh? Hold on a second. What the heck? I never heard anything about you guys having a house built. Well, we have been pretty busy back then, and the whole move into it and everything. And the construction of it took a lot of time out of our day as well. Even now, I'm still doing some things in the house to decorate it, so I'm not quite at the point of telling everyone where I'm at yet. I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. I guess I should have since you're family. Huh? So your husband must really be bringing in the money for you guys. I'm pretty jealous that you get to be with someone like my little brother. Well, he's been doing a really good job taking care of me. Even to the point that I feel I'm not doing nearly enough for him. And you are right to feel that way. You are in a wheelchair and probably don't make a penny for you guys, nor can you please him the same way other women can. And I bet you don't even get any of the chores done there. Actually, I'm doing all the chores still. Do you really think there are chores that you can do while trapped in that wheelchair? I bet all you do is ride around with a broom and push things around, right? So calling that doing all the chores is a bit much. Are you trying to make fun of someone that's putting in a lot of work as a real housewife? I see. I'm sorry for making it sound that way. You don't have to bother with apologizing to me. I can see that that's the way you get a house built for you then. You have to be very thankful for him and all the money he had to sacrifice for that. You are right. Oh, well, if you happen to run across any houses that look good and near my husband's work, let me know, okay? I have to find something by the middle of next month or we'll be doomed. See ya! Sandra, excuse me. I've noticed that some things for you have arrived at our house, but did you mean to send these here? Ah, yes, I did. I'm sorry for not mentioning that to you earlier. I was forced to move out of my place and have to come to you. So you're moving in with us? I heard about this from my dad. He told me that he's going to be living with you both there. And that's the reason you had that house built as well? I know I just asked this, but I need to ask again. Are you actually thinking of moving in with us? Well, of course I am. Why else would I be sending a lot of my things over to your house? Does your mom know that all of this is happening? Right now, everyone is out of the house, and so I can't ask them what they know, but I'd really like that you ask them first before sending things to the house like you're allowed to be here already. Well, they won't know anything because I haven't told them yet. Do they have to know that I'm coming for me to move in there? You're asking me that question? Coming into our house this quickly isn't a simple thing. What are we going to do about all of these things you've sent here? Right now, I can barely get around the front of the house with all these boxes in my way. Sorry for the clutter. And you shouldn't have to be thinking that, right? I'm going to be there tomorrow to take care of all those things, so don't feel as though they'll be sitting around for days. So can you do me a favor and move all the packages into an open room? Thank you. No, this is not the time to be saying thank you. I have to check with your mom and my husband about this first. And I'm not going to decide on all of this myself without getting their feedback, because this is their house too. Oh, come on. What are you talking about? That house that you have right now is built on the land that my parents own, right? We did have this house built on their land with the intent that we have them come live with us. But does that have anything to do with you forcing your way into this house? You know it has everything to do with it. That land is my parents' land. And so that means that place is the new family house. And if it's the new family house and I'm family, then I can move there whenever I please. Well, I guess one could say that. But what you're doing and what you're saying are two different things. First, let me go and talk with everyone else about this, and then we can make a solid decision. What do you mean? What I'm saying is different. Why do you have to check with everyone first before letting me move into my family's house? Do you really think they're going to say no to what I'm doing? Because this house is no longer just your parents' place anymore, but mine and my husband's as well. My husband and I were the ones that paid for this whole house to be built. And yet you're trying to move into here without letting anyone know? No matter what the situation is, you have to talk about what you're allowed to do before making a move. My gosh, this is the reason why? let me tell you something. I think that me living there with my parents would be a lot more beneficial to them than having you there. What is that supposed to mean, Sandra? You know what I'm implying, right? Someone that's disabled and bound to a wheelchair is not able to get as much housework done as a normal person, right? Do you think I'm going to leave my parents in your hands? I told you this before, but I am still able to do all the chores in my state. I can even get a lot of cooking done, and so there's no need to worry here about living with me. If there was, then none of this would have happened in the first place. But even still, that's less than what a normal person can do, right? Or maybe this is something else. Are you having my parents take care of you because you're pretty much useless? That right there is pretty screwed up, considering that they are both getting old. That is not what's happening here. You can say whatever you want, right? I know in reality you are putting my parents through a lot of trouble there. You're the cause of all their problems now, and that's why you won't own up to it. You're afraid they might have to kick you out of there. Even if that's what you think is going on here, you are still not allowed to just barge into this house and say that you'll be living here without everyone in this house's answer first. Please, just wait for me to talk to your mom and my husband about this first. You really are a pain in the butt, Emily. And that's why I'm having to get into that place now. Now that you understand, can you move my things to an open room? I'll be coming over tomorrow, and there is nothing you can do to stop me. Sandra, when are you going to be coming home? I have lunch and everything made up for you now. Oh, I'm sorry, Emily. I don't think I'll be needing lunch today after all. What? Again with this? You asked me to make you something yesterday as well and never came to eat it. Well, I'm going out with friends now for lunch. I couldn't say no to them, right? Well, if you knew that ahead of time, you should have told me. It's a pain for me to have to make food that won't be eaten. That's because you're in a wheelchair, right? But listen, this is great. After that whole conversation we had weeks ago, we are still able to live in that house together. So all that crap from you before meant nothing, right? There is still a limit to us all living together. You are only going to be with us until you find a new home, right? Did my parents agree to something like that? But Emily, that house you have is so relaxing to live in. To the point that I'd love to live in it with you all forever. The only reason we are allowing you to live here is because of what happened between you and the landlord, and you'll only be here until you have a new place to go. You need to start searching for a place more seriously now, or we'll all have a problem. Don't say that to me. That's right. How about you and your husband get out of here? Then there would be no problems with me staying here with my parents, right? Why do you think something like that could ever happen? I told you this already, but this house was planned out and paid for by my husband and I. So we are not leaving. Why not? We are not just going to give the house we had built for us away. And in the near future, we are planning on buying the land off your mom so that it can all be under our name. So you're asking the impossible from us right now. Right. I'm going to change the conversation a little now. What do you want now? Are you finished with all of today's chores yet? I asked you to get it all done before I left, right? I've finished everything already. But you weren't there to help me out with any of it, so it was a real pain as well. Oh, is that so? Then let me add some more things for you. Can you go out and wash my car? What? No way! I may be able to handle things inside the home, but you know that I can't clean a car all on my own. I am your sister-in-law, so you go and do what I've asked of you. I'm not going to let you slack off just because you're in a wheelchair. Sandra, ever since you barged into my house, you've been asking me things like this a lot. asking me to do things that I just cannot do. What are you wanting to do to me? Nothing. I'm simply asking you to do some favors for me is all. Well, if you don't like helping me out from time to time, then leave the house. If you do that, then you'll never have to be bothered by me asking for help ever again. Understood. I'll wash your car. What? Can you actually do it? You told me a second ago that you can't do it, right? Well, if I don't do it, you're just going to keep complaining, right? So I'll do anything that I have to get you to shut up. Is that so? Well, good luck then. I've only been asking you to do small things for me, so there's no need for you to get up in arms about it. If you have a real problem with me, then you can leave whenever you want. Emily, where are you right now? What's happened with all the chores you're supposed to do today? Don't tell me you plan to slack off today. Right now, we've taken her to get a medical exam done. Oh, she did say something about that kind of thing. Well, besides that, did you hear the news? Last night, my parents were having a talk. My mom was saying that she can no longer take having you in the house with us. Something like that was never said last night. You never were around to hear any of that, so what are you talking about? She said all of that. She even said that she's pissed that you keep acting like a parasite leeching off of everyone here. A parasite, huh? Oh, maybe something like that was said. Huh? What are you going on about right now? You really are messed up more in the head than both your legs are. Well, that doesn't matter now, as long as you understand what all this means. A parasite like you needs to leave this house now. That's what's best for everyone here. I'm surprised you could say something so audacious. I was talking about having my daughter, you, leave the house. Huh? I'm not your frickin' daughter. You really do have a screwed up head on you, just like those mangled legs. The only one that's screwed up right now is you. Saying such horrible things to my cute daughter-in-law. And not just that, but ever since you came into the house without asking, you have done nothing but sit around and take advantage of us. When the hell are you going to find that new house? What is wrong with you? Are you trying to act like Mom? You're talking to me right now through text, so that's not going to work. You wish this was her trying to act like me. But right now you are talking to your mother, and you've made her very, very upset. I did not want to see my daughter talking to someone else in the family like you have today. Is this really you, Mom? Stop joking, Emily. This isn't a joke. If you're not going to believe me, then do you want me to tell you how long you had been wetting the bed for? Or maybe I can tell you the story of how you'd gotten cheated on in high school. Stop that right now! Why are you using Emily's phone? What happened to her? I told you we're at the hospital right now so that she can get her exam done. Forgot that already? Huh? You said that? You must have just asked where she was to have a reason to start a conversation with her again then. Now let me ask you this. When did I ever say that I was getting fed up with Emily living in this house with us and wanted her to leave? You were talking with Dad about it last night. You said that the parasite living here is being a pain in the butt. And I knew that you were talking about the problems you have with Emily, right? Oh, you're talking about that. Well, you're mistaken. That parasite I was talking about was in reference to you. Huh? You're lying, right? Not at all. You said you had no place to go, and that's why you forced Emily to let you live here. But this whole time you've been here, you haven't done poop. Haven't done poop? I've gone to the realtor once. And that was one time.
I know that since then you haven't been doing a thing to find yourself a house. And just when I thought I was having enough of you, you started to tell Emily to get out of this house. What is that all about? Who the hell do you think you are to be telling her all of that? I don't see you giving anything to be allowed in this house still. You are an embarrassment, Sandra.
No, but wait, have you even thought enough about the reality of the situation right now? When you and Dad need to be taken care of in your old age, do you really think Emily can do it in her wheelchair?
And if that becomes a problem, your father and I will go into a home. Why should the person who paid for the house to be built have to leave their house? You're the one that needs to be tossed out.
But this land is the family's, right?
And I'm planning to let Emily buy it from me. I want to use the money she pays us as part of our retirement. Understand? She is being very kind, saying that she's willing to pay for this land.
That's what she should be doing.
I was originally going to let her have it, but she continued to offer that she pay. I'd rather have a daughter like her than one that complains all day and asks the owner of the house she's allowed to live in to leave. And not only all of those other piss-poor reasons, but also because you've been messing with her for being in a wheelchair.
Then are you saying that it's better we all have to leave that house instead of her?
I am, Sandra. I am. Let me be transparent with you now. The way that you have been treating Emily is absolutely unacceptable. If you're not going to change everything about yourself right now, then get out of her house.
Shut up for a second, Mom. I don't have anywhere to go right now. So you can't seriously be asking me to leave.
The owners of this house are Emily and my son. So if you knew living here for the time being was your only way of staying off the streets, then why have you been making fun of the owner? If you don't want to leave this house, then change that attitude of yours right now. If you don't, you won't have a place to live starting tomorrow. The four of us living here are happy for a nasty witch like you to be tossed out whenever. After that, I came back home from the hospital to a very furious sister-in-law standing at the door. She was so furious, in fact, that it was almost like she had forgotten everything her mom had said to her. And right in front of her own mom, she began to cuss me out and even rock me around in my wheelchair. But after seeing that her daughter's attitude had only gotten far worse, Bev became the new monster in the house and slapped Sandra across the face so hard that it went dead silent. And then she dragged her out the front door into the lawn and left her there to come back in with me and lock all the doors. Sandra began to scream and cry, asking to be let in while banging on the door, but we moved upstairs to her room and began going through all her things. And right then and there, Bev called Sandra's husband and told him that they were not welcomed there anymore. Before taking all of Sandra's things and throwing them out the second-story window, including all the fragile things that broke on impact. Luckily, her husband had emergency savings in his account, so he was able to find a new apartment for them to live in. But both Sandra's parents had cut ties with her by now, and so we'll never be seeing her again. I know that me being in a wheelchair limits me from doing a lot of things, but when it comes to most housework, I'm able to do them, as long as there isn't someone constantly trying to put me down. But because Sandra tried to take advantage of me and my disability, she had to feel the full wrath of her mom and lose almost everything she had. I'm not really sure what's been going on in her life now after such an eye-opening experience, but I've heard rumors that her husband is thinking about getting a divorce because of how useless she's become. I'll make sure from now on to continue to do my best to do everything I can for the family, as they've done a lot for me. And while I'm at it, I'll avoid ever making Bev upset, because that last moment between her and Sandra was very scary.